What's up, everyone? Monday Night Football Showdown breakdown. Commanders at the Eagles. NFC. Now, let's do this. All right, welcome back to another Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at, where we take a look at the NFL Showdown single game format on DraftKings and FanDuel. Tonight, we're looking at the Commanders at the Eagles. With me to break it down is my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, two-time DraftKings Million Maker winner, 10 times DraftKings GOAT fucking badass, Bobbywow. What's up, my man?
Hey, Geek. It's good to be back, man. I'm excited. Let's go. We got Jalen Hurts tonight. It's going to be fun.
It is Jalen Hurts night, but first of all, I got to listen. We don't do a lot of like remembering and touting, right? From the previous slits. But the smashing has been at a level so extreme. I got to go back and just mention. So last night, of course, even though you weren't with me on the breakdown, you were with me in spirit, and that's the most important thing.
Always.
And we gave out Elijah Mitchell as the top play on the slate from a value perspective, $200 on DraftKings. Allowed you to do whatever you wanted with your lineups. And because of that, everybody smashed. All right. Bobbywow, I got screenshots of 15K winners, 10K. It's like crazy in the DFS Army Discord from this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember Thursday, right? And there was another player, I believe it was Laviska Shenault, given out by you, with balls of steel. Laviska Shenault had done nothing. My guy comes out and absolutely smashes. It was unbelievable.
It's crazy. And just a little more touting. Like, I think it was maybe the main slate yesterday. Someone had taken down, it was like one of those smashes where they had like first place, second place, fourth place. Crazy, man. Yeah.
Scotty Newman.
Unreal. Just been
Pulled it
awesome.
down.
Across
By
the
the
board.
way, I am going to have Scotty Newman, who took on FanDuel. Scotty uses a very repetitive system, using the Dom station, heavily back tested, and he's very consistent. I love the way he approaches DFS, and we're going to have him on a standalone show where we're going to break down how he took down the early slate using the Dom station, how he kind of did it. So I'm working on getting him together, and that's why I didn't put out a weekend review this morning, because I kind of want to get Scotty on there, and I want to really review. I think we can take it to the next level at this point with helping people with their process for using the optimizer if you're going to attack mass multi-entry, and I just think it's super helpful. I've been doing back testing on the NFL in review to kind of show, hey, here's how we hit it. Here's how you could have hit the nuts, but this is more of a system. So I'm working on that. We're going to try to get him on there.
Good.
So we'll do that. Do it that way, because I feel like teaching the process where people are winning and showing you, hey, what are the steps I took to win is super important and better for sort of explaining to our members, our subscribers, and the watchers here how we do it, how we take down these tournaments. And it's basically insider secrets that most people aren't giving you, right? They don't give you the sauce. They just kind of, they don't want to do that. There we go. Fucking hundo. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
It's the secret sauce too, but it takes a special kind of someone to be able to explain that, to just like put it into terms that everyone can understand. And there's no one better than him to do that. So I can't wait. Yeah, you got to broadcast the heck out of that. Yeah,
we're going to put it out there. That's why I said I held off on the Showdown, the weekend review, because I kind of want to have that as part of it. Shock Bandit. So this is a really interesting question. And, you know, isn't this the ultimate question for DFS in general, right? Yesterday, CMC was, of course, the majority favorite, the obvious captain play. But the winner in your contest used a wide receiver that wasn't Christian McCaffrey, a cheaper one. And we saw Carter had that big touchdown and ended up with a big game. So the question is, should I have faded Christian McCaffrey? Should he have faded Christian McCaffrey as a captain / MVP? And this really speaks to your approach to DFS.
Yeah.
There is an approach to DFS that says, when it's obvious chalk, I'm going to fade it always. And I will accept that I lose in situations where the chalk hits. There are people who that is their absolute mentality and approach to DFS. They win a lot, but they also lose a lot. It's funny. I was talking to one of our longtime subs today who's very much into that. He's probably in here right now. And has won a lot of times, but was kind of like, I don't want people to follow what I do because I do crazy shit and I lose most of the time. But every once in a while I win. And it makes up for all the... And that's how I like to play. I don't want to play the obvious. I will always fade that chalk. There's also a video that I made that's right here on the DFS Army YouTube channel, and it's open to everybody, called Leveraging Ownership. Just type Leveraging Ownership. I didn't put it in the description. I didn't know we would go here. Right? I didn't know we were going here. But it explains why fading high... There he is. That's right. We were just talking today about this.
Let's go.
So that's awesome. So I have a whole video talking about leveraging. I think it's the best video I've probably ever made.
It's phenomenal. Yes.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing I've ever done for learning how to be good at DFS and game theory in general. And it explains that for the most part, fading ownership is almost always the right move in DFS. The more obvious it looks, the scarier it feels to fade, the better the fade really is over the long haul. But the problem is you don't see the payoff right away. It takes multiple times of doing that for it to pay off. And a lot of people psychologically can't handle that.
And like you talk about in that article, there's so many other factors, right? Like the contest selection is huge. If you're playing to cash, if you're playing a 50-50, you don't want to fade CMC. If you're trying to take a tournament down, yes. And it's all that to say, check out the article. It talks through all that, and it's so worth it.
I'll put the video out there. It's really good. But here it is. So Steve says, hey, Hurts is the obvious captain chalk tonight, right? Of course. And the even more obvious MVP chalk tonight. Should I fade that? Well, Steve, here's my answer for you. And I'm going to find it. I'm going to try to find that video and somehow link it while we're doing. I'll drop it.
I got it. You keep talking. I'm going to find it.
Yeah, it's called Advanced Strategies, Leveraging Ownership in DFS. But this is a great question, Steve. You know why? If you're going to, should we fade him tonight in the captain spot? The answer is, if you're willing to fade that obvious chalk every single showdown, then start tonight. And if you lose, do not change your approach. If you lose tonight, if that doesn't work and you're going to change your approach, be like, fuck, that didn't work, I'm not doing that again, then don't even do it. Don't even do it, because it's not going to work out like that. If you do that, you have to do it all the time. And the best way to gain confidence in that style of approach, like just straight fading the chalkiest captain every single week, is back testing. Go in and do the last 100 showdowns that we have in our back test tool. And I want you to fade that chalk captain every single time and then record the results. How many times did you hit the nuts, right? How much money would you have won? You could look at the contest dashboard and understand it. And then you say, oh, wow, you know what? I would have lost money more times than not. But the times that I won, it well made up for it. So you have to really be accepting of it. And here it is. David said, you got to be consistent with your approach or it will not work. Because if you fade it tonight and then you play it tomorrow, that just it's just nothing. You're not learning anything. You're not receiving the plus EV that you should be from it.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. It's one of those things, man. And if you don't have the balls to lose 100 to win 1, then don't do it. Just know yourself. And the way I allow myself to fade chalk is I kind of will bet bigger in smaller contests where I don't need the nuts, and I'll put my Christian McCaffrey in the captain, and I'll play a bigger contest. And then in the GPP that I'm entering, if it's a $3 or a $5 and $750, I know that even if I lose all of that, I kind of make up for it a little bit and some other stuff. So I won't just be dead on the day. So I have a way of doing it, but like in general, you have to be consistent with the approach that you use. And yes, that is the coin flip analogy video. There's no better. If you want to understand ownership leverage, you got to watch that video if you haven't already, because hey, for me, it's like the best video I think I've ever made, but also it will teach you how to do this.
We'll throw it in the channel after this because there's...
all right, let's get into the showdown break. People kill us. Too much.
Sorry.
I answered a question and we got away from what we're doing. So let's get into the game. We're talking Commanders at the Eagles. And before we even look at the players, I just want to pull up our points against points for screen. Everybody loves this. Exclusive tool that we have over at DFS Army. It is pinned in my channel in our team Discord. If you're not in DFS Army in the Discord, make sure that you are in our Discord. You got to go to dfsarmy.com, click on the Discord button, link your account and all that so you can get our premium Discord channels. It's included with your membership. So real quick here, Washington at the bottom of the screen. Pretty neutral against quarterbacks. They're pretty good against the running back, interestingly. Allowing 3 points below average expectation to the running back position, but not very good against wide receivers, allowing 3.5 fantasy points above expectation to the wide receiver position. So, Devonta Smith and AJ Brown and all that good stuff, right? On the flip side, for the Eagles, here we are. Eagles are very good defensively, and we know this because they have 2 elite cornerbacks in Darius Hayward-Slay and James Bradbury. So they're really good at shutting down outside wide receivers in particular with those 2 elite cornerbacks. They're allowing 5-ish fewer points per game to the quarterback position than expectation, and over 5 fewer points per game to wide receivers. Notice that they're one of the best team in the league against wide receivers, Bobbywow.
Yeah.
So, proceed with caution on the outside wide receivers for Washington. Curtis Samuel will actually avoid a lot of that. Yeah, that's right. He doesn't play a traditional, it's the Dotson and Terry McLaurin combo that will see the elite coverage. So be careful with those 2. All right. Now let's get into our matchup sheet and we can start to break this bad boy down. The only thing anybody wants to know is who's Bobbywow's turd of the week. Like, no one cares about anything else. That's all they want to know.
That's not true.
That's all they want. They don't even want to know my turd of the week. They're like, dude.
Stop.
They're like, screw you, Geek. Yeah, you gave us Keontae Ingram once. You drank some Keontae. That's it. Bobbywow spits winners every week. Get out of here, Geek. Shut up. Let Bobbywow talk.
Stop.
All right. That's what they say. I get DMs like that.
Oh, my gosh.
It's horrible. Hurts my feelings. So, Eagles, Jalen Hurts, the man, the aforementioned obvious captain and MVP play on this slate. He's going to be great. He's throwing to AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Quez. If we take a look at the snap counts, it is as you would expect. Brown and Smith on the field pretty much all the time. Quez and Quez in the 3 wides, and occasionally Zach Pascal will get on the field in a 4 wide receiver set. Dallas Goedert pretty much getting all of the tight end touches. And that reminds me, Bobbywow, the last time the Eagles were in one of these, you gave out Goddard as your top captain. My fucking was the nuts.
Yeah,
it was last week. Are you guys watching these and noticing the killer plays that are being spit out in these shows every single week? It's crazy. That was a great call, Bobbywow.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So at running back, Miles Sanders does not have the best of matchups. I liked Miles Sanders last week a little bit because of the way that game sort of set up. I like him maybe a little bit less here. Yeah, not just because Washington okay against the running backs, but also, Sanders needs a blowout. You could get that here.
He does. I just hate having to make the decision of playing him or Hurts. It's tough for me to play them in the same lineup. So that makes it even more difficult, but I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, it's really tricky. It's really tricky because you're right. How does Hurts fail? One of the major ways would be, and we always say this like every week, but one of the major ways would be just like Sanders running for 2+. That could be enough to sort of make it fail, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That could be enough. Yeah. To the point where you even have to start thinking about, if you don't have Jalen Hurts in your lineup, you probably want to make sure you have Miles Sanders in your lineup, in my opinion.
The question, though, is can I make a Sanders and Hurts combination?
Yeah, you can. I don't love it. It feels more cashy to me if you're going to try, but I don't like it all that much. They rarely ever both have ceiling games together.
I know. It's troubling because they do the same thing. And the only way they have a ceiling game is like, it's probably if it's just this crazy high scoring game across the board where Washington's scoring 2 and like everybody's putting up points and the score goes crazy.
Or
and then
Hurts throws a couple in to Sanders miraculously. But yeah, I mean, it's possible, not likely though.
Yeah, and Hurts absolutely destroyed these guys. I also spoke to Anthony Gargano from 97.5, the Fanatic Philadelphia, superstar sports guy. And he does like this game just to score a lot of points on both sides. He likes the overs across the board and just the game generally to be higher scoring than people think, even on the Washington side, which was a little surprising for me. All right, so let's shift over to Washington. And the big change this week, Bobbywow, is no J.D. McKissic, which means 2 things. Number one, Gibson should get a much larger than usual role, which is noteworthy because, number one, the Eagles, the best way to attack them is on the ground or via the short pass. And those are both things that Antonio Gibson does. So normally we'd like a J.D. McKissic in a game like this because he kind of plays that short passing game role. I really, really like Gibson. He's probably my favorite play on the Commanders across the board because you're getting essentially McKissic and Gibson's role all wrapped into one. Maybe not as much touchdown upside, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we talked a little bit last night too. Gibson feels like the best and safest play on Washington for what that's worth. And it's funny how much the script can flip. I mean, 6 weeks ago, we were talking about how quickly Washington wanted Gibson to be gone. And Brian Robinson was the guy. But now all of a sudden, Gibson has kind of refound himself again. And he looks brand new. So I like Gibson a lot. I think the matchup is decent. And like you said, the reps are going to be a lot higher than normal, which is what you want to hear.
Yeah, I am not into Robinson at all. Although, isn't it interesting that Robinson actually got more carries last week than Gibson did? Just interesting.
So, Geek, here's the question for me. Does Brian Robinson snatch the goal line carries?
He should,
if
yes.
Washington marches down there.
He will.
That's the thing to think about when you're trying to figure out who to roster here.
No,
Gibson is the better play to me, but something to keep in mind.
He will get the goal line carry. That's why he's there. He's not a very dynamic player, but it's also interesting that they threw to him a little bit last week, which means you kind of have to keep him in mind in this one as well. He did get some targets, although, like I said, it should generally be McKissic that gets those targets. Brian Robinson got some of them last week too, so
true.
It'll be interesting how they work it. At wide receiver, McLaurin 100%, the rare 100%er. The rare, he is inexpensive, and he's got 35% of the targets last week. Essentially, McLaurin has been a favorite of Taylor Heineke now for 2 years. Heineke's a very limited quarterback, so he can't do that much, but he can heave them up to McLaurin, and sometimes McLaurin will come down with them. That's about it. But this guy's he's going to be draped by Darius Slay. Be careful. Be careful. So I don't expect like any kind of ceiling game out of McKissic here.
McLaurin, yeah.
McLaurin. Why are there so many Irish guys on this team? They're messing up my these Irish players are messing up my ability to differentiate the names. All right, so Curtis Samuel is what?
No, it's just funny. I just love how there's always these little quirks. That's what makes this so much fun, right?
Curtis Samuel, short passing role. I actually think the role Curtis Samuel plays is really good for this kind of a game environment. So let's see how that goes tonight. I'm definitely interested in him. The return of Jahan Dotson, touchdown machine earlier in the season, but that was with Carson Wentz heaving bombs. Terry again, he's going to be covered by Bradbury, and Taylor Heineke, not exactly known for his ability to throw bombs.
Yeah.
FYI, McLaurin has his best game of the year versus Philly. So there we go as well. Maybe that'll happen here.
He's had a decent career against Philly. I mean, he's had games, 3 games of over 100 yards. He scored 3 touchdowns in 7 games. So he's been okay in these matchups before. And like I said, over 100 yards in the earlier matchup. So don't get too scared. be scared, but don't get too scared.
Yeah, no. And he is their number one wide receiver. And again, the primary target and the apple of Taylor Heineke's eye, right? Taylor Heineke, 36% of the targets last week. I don't think, like I said, the return of Jahan Dotson should make a huge difference because the role that he kind of plays, the deep bomb, touchdown score, he could get a touchdown here, but he will be probably seeing Bradbury in coverage. And yeah, he's just kind of like just kind of like a turd. TMC's not on the FanDuel cheat sheet. That does not make sense to me. I'll take a look at that in a second. Logan Thomas. So at the tight end position for Washington, Logan Thomas hasn't had any fantasy production over the last couple of weeks. The target percentage, let it fool you. He's got 0. He didn't catch any of those, but Logan Thomas is very, very reasonably priced today, and he's a 71%. He's been slowly making a comeback and getting to be part of the offense from an injury. I definitely like Logan Thomas here. I think he's 2,600 on DraftKings, and I think it's a fine spot for him. What do you say, Bobbywow?
Yeah, I think, there's always injury concerns with him. It feels like the poor guy can't stay on the field ever. So you have that as a big time risk, but especially if you're in like a 20 max or if you're running mass multi-entry, he's a guy that I would recommend being overweight on. I think Josh put that in his notes as well. He's so cheap and the projected ownership for him is relatively low. So yeah, again, I'm with you on that one, Geek. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, and then a couple of mentioned turds. Somebody SEO in the comments already mentioned John Bates, and yeah, he'll be on the field. He's that tight end turd that you can get a little bit of exposure to. There's a couple of these guys like over the last 4 weeks, like Cam Sims, Dak Milne, and Diami. All these turds like catch one pass each week. It's really shitty. It's not good. It's not a good scene. But any one of them. But I think actually all this trash kind of falls by the wayside with the return of Dotson. I don't think we got to worry too much about those guys. Yeah, and here we go. Love this. Washington tight end coach says about Thomas, he's back, and I'm excited for Monday night. So let's assume that he was getting healthy the last couple of weeks, couldn't catch the passes, couple thrown to him.
Yep.
Now he's back, so we can expect some receptions, and he is priced in a very special. Like if you're trying to use Hurts and AJ Brown in the same lineup, which I am because they're awesome, you kind of need a $2,600 guy to level it out. You'll see how it comes together as we build a lineup. I've already built a bunch, and you do have to do that. So let's get into the captain position here for DraftKings, and we'll talk a little bit about what's on the cheat sheet and the notes here. So starting at the top, obviously, the top play, the highest owned, the captain ownership of 20% here for Jalen Hurts. So I guess my question for you, Bobbywow, is like, are you loading up on Hurts, or do you think the move here with the ownership as high as it's expected to be would be to try to get there with some of these alternative players?
Yeah, we talk about two kind of main schools of thought with this. I think there's slates where you get cute at captain and MVP because you feel really confident about the flex options. And then there's slates where you don't get cute with the captain MVP and you mix up the flex options. To me, based on the players in this game, the pricing, the history, I think you go with Hurts, and you don't get as cute there, and then maybe you take some more risks in the flex. So that's the way I see this slate. I don't know about you, Geek.
Yeah, listen, I always like Hurts. I do think there are multiple viable captain plays
for
DraftKings. So like I'm not gonna fade Hurts if that's the question. I'm not fading him. I'm going to use. I already made some lineups with him, but I'll make lineups without him too. I'll mix it up. You love the running quarterback. Hurts does things with his legs, but there's also that slight possibility that the Eagles completely dominate this game. And so I see the game. There's two ways that this game goes: the competitive route and the domination onslaught route. Right. I think the field is leaning towards the domination and onslaught right? That's what the generic build will be. Domination, onslaught. So everybody's like, they're going to kill him. They're minus 11 in this spot. They're going to destroy him. They got a great defense. They're at home, and they should. All of those things sound right. The Commanders aren't very good this year. You have the backup quarterback in there. There are a million reasons why. But we also saw last night, and we've seen it's the NFL, and teams that aren't very good are competitive. What game was last night? Can't remember, but who played last night?
I'm blanking now. Who the heck was? Oh, Chargers, 49ers.
Yeah, Chargers 40. Oh, that wasn't so much. That kind of went more kind of as expected. So that wasn't a great example. But we've seen games and a lot of these showdowns where one team kind of looks like they might be dead in the water, and all of a sudden they play well, and you're like, oh wow, look at that. That offense is looking good. So I think the chalk build will be for the onslaught, but you do have to consider what if the Commanders are competitive. I think Hurts' best game comes if the Commanders are being competitive, and he's got to do a little with his legs, because if they're just dominating, the defense is scoring, all of a sudden they hand it to Sanders and he gets there. So there are other ways, but Chargers San Francisco last night. That's right. And it was competitive for a while. AJ Brown is certainly a guy who can outscore Hurts.
Absolutely. He's done it a couple times already this season.
Yeah, he's done it more than once. Massive upside for him. A couple weeks ago, last week, you gave us Dallas Goedert as your favorite captain play. And that ended up being the nuts play.
It did. He's a little bit pricier than last week, but I still think he's viable. I'm not as excited about him in the captain, but yeah, don't sleep on Dallas Goedert. He's been the most consistent pass catcher in this offense. So looking at some of the alternative potential captain plays here, Miles Sanders for me is the Hurts fails because Miles Sanders has a big game leverage. I think you always want to take a little bit of that leverage, but it's definitely not a play where I would ever expect him to outscore Jalen Hurts. What do you think? Yeah, I think so. I mean, so on FanDuel, I would not get cute with Jalen Hurts. Let me clarify that. On FanDuel, I would not mess around. Get cute elsewhere. Mix in the craziest flex guys if you have to, but don't mess around there. On DraftKings, Geek, this almost feels like a batch run situation where you could run 20 lineups with Miles Sanders and have 0 Hurts in them, for example. Yes. And then you take a guy like Devonta Smith and you just kind of go determine how many lineups you want them in based on how many you're running and go batch by batch. If you want to go the leverage route against Hurts, that's the way I would look at it. I like that. And by the way, guys, as you're watching this, if you enjoy this kind of content, do me a solid and just hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not already. More importantly, to subscribe to the channel, because I want you guys to get these videos as they come out. We've got a lot of great stuff going on here on the DFS Army YouTube channel. So, do me a solid for me, just between us. Hit the button right now. I'll wait. Okay. Half the audience just got like PTSD shakes from 8th grade math class. From the, I'll wait. Yeah. When you're supposed to answer. Listen, half of our staff and audience are teachers anyway. The other half are military, and we just have teachers and military. That's it. Veterans and teachers. That's the whole thing. All right. As far as other captains, right? So we talked about Sanders' as backup. Perry McLaurin, fine. Yeah. Okay. Smith can go off. Devontae Smith. Smith is the ultimate GPP only guy, right? He's going to go off every once in a while, get you 32, and then other times he's just going to be invisible. More often than not, invisible. Ooh, birthday narrative. Okay. Yeah, I mean, last time they played earlier this season, he absolutely smashed. I don't know that I'm going to have him and AJ Brown in a lineup together very often. I'm okay going Goddard and one of them. I don't like Smith and Brown as much together. I wish there was a way. I mean, I'm not handcrafting probably Smith and Brown a ton, but if you're running lineups with the optimizer, it's going to do it. Can't really prevent it too much. I mean, no more than 2 of those 3. But you could make a rule. No, I mean, you can make a rule and completely prevent it.
I'm not sure I want to rule it out either. You know what I mean? Like they can all get there. I don't love it, but I totally agree with you. I love it. Love the veterans, man. Happy Veterans Day for all my vets out there. From a little belated.
Yeah.
What do we mean by batch run? Real quick, Steve. That means just run rather than running. If you're using the optimizer, rather than running 150 lineups or 20 lineups or however you make all at once, you make a batch for each captain, run that, and then make a new batch. So if you want to do 5 Sanders lineups, you just run 5 and control the exposures for that 5, and then run another 15 or 145 for some other approach. So it just means not. Holy shit. I mean, I feel like, how did we know? So everybody here is like that. So, other potential ones. Yeah, Goddard, he got there last time they played, so why not? And Antonio Gibson, man, this one's slim. I like Gibson in this game, but it's hard for me to really imagine either him or even McLaurin kind of being one of the highest scoring players on the slate. What do you think, Bobbywow?
Yeah, I kind of like it as a deep GPP punt if you're MMEing Gibson as an option. But yeah, I mean, I would not go crazy there. More so on FanDuel is what I would recommend.
And Atomic is saying, he doesn't really recall a time when Hurts has carried both, where he has carried both of his wide receivers in a game. And I don't remember a game like that either. So if that has happened this year where both Smith and AJ Brown have kind of popped off, I'm curious to see that. If they do both pop off, you damn well better have Hurts in that lineup too, though, because that means he's going absolutely nuclear. Okay, now for the flex zone, we're going to go past our captaincy and kind of get into some of these players that we're going to need to use to open up salary, get into the turd zone and all of that. So, Bobby, take me through it.
Turd zone here. Yeah, I mean, I think Josh made this sheet actually, so just props to him first.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Jahan Dotson it's really interesting, Geek, at 5K. He's really cheap. I know his matchup stinks and he's coming back from injury. He's one of the better GPP leverage plays on this whole slate. I mean, 10% projected ownership feels really low to me. What about you?
I mean, that's super low. Not just the flex ownership, but also the captain ownership. Listen, DeAndre Carter or whoever that dude was the nuts the other night. Like, that is exactly the same as what Jahan Dotson is today. So it was a bad matchup and all of that. And yet there he was. Dotson is a touchdown scorer. He was a touchdown machine in college as well. First round draft capital. This is a talented player. And I don't love it because he's never played with Heineke, and Heineke's not the type of quarterback. Again, anything can change. I've not seen Heineke like with deep ball accuracy. That is not what he's good at. So that doesn't mean he can't throw a deep ball and that Jahan Dotson can't catch it and get a touchdown. And it doesn't mean it couldn't happen a second time in a game and all of a sudden he wins you $1 million. So if you are chasing the millie, that's the kind of play that you want to make. And I think he's a perfectly acceptable play at 5K. He's the WR2 on his team, and that's a pretty inexpensive price. Like, I don't see anybody better anywhere near his salary.
No, I agree. I mean, and he's, like you said, most important thing to note about him is he's a touchdown scorer. He doesn't necessarily need the bomb to score. He's got 4 touchdowns in 4 games played this season. So touchdown upside is there. I agree. It's just in terms of the price range, it's hard to beat the upside.
By the way, so this goes back to having the balls to do some captaining things that not everybody else is doing. That's how you take down the big bucks. That's how you take the million. Do I love Samuel? No. Do I even kind of like Samuel in this game? Not necessarily, but who cares? He has 21-point score history. He could get there. He could do it. He plays a role that will avoid the best cornerbacks from the Eagles. And let's say he's got a 2% chance of having a monster 20-plus point game or a 5% chance of that. That's a heck of a lot better than your chances of winning $1 million right now by playing Hurts, where you're just going to be 1 in 50,000 because there's going to be 50,000 other people that also play Hurts as their captain. So That's not really helping your odds. He's just got a likelihood of hitting. These other guys are going to legitimately help your odds.
Agreed. Yeah. And just one more point on that. I mean, someone mentioned Samuel potentially getting some end arounds, some handoffs. That wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, we saw it with Laviska Shenault the other night because of some injuries, and certainly possible here tonight if Heineke struggles, which is very possible.
Samuel is Laviska Shenault
2.0.
And they're the same thing. And they play the same role.
He's just more involved. I mean, Samuel, I think his target share is higher than anyone else. His target share on the season is higher than T-Mac. So he is involved.
Remember, he was cheat code with Wentz for a while, getting 11 targets a game, but he's just not doing that now. So let's be real. Okay, so some of the other potential turds here. My favorite is Logan Thomas. Tight end. I like tight ends just in general because they have that high touchdown potential relative to other players on a team. The tight end doesn't need to do much. He usually just has to get a touchdown. Logan Thomas, now 2 or 3. This will be his third game back from that injury. So I think this is where we should start to see him sort of chill and get back to himself. The other guy I really like as a pay down option, Quez Watkins. I always like Quez. Quez, he's deep ball guy. He is absolutely like the Traquan Smith / Rashid Shaheed kind of like guy that can it just takes one reception and he's in the nuts play. Totally not the FBI. Has a friend who is the coach of the Commanders QBs, and he loves this game. Listen, we have a couple of different indicators of like a high scoring affair.
This has been one of the most lively chats.
I'm loving the chat today.
Ever. This is amazing.
Yeah. I'm loving it. So getting back to it here, Logan Thomas, I love, and Quez Watkins, sure. And the other name that I want to sort of throw out there is Kenny G, aka Kenny Gainwell.
Yes.
Listen, Bobby, you say it because the nod, it's a 3.5 start. Talk me into it.
I mean, look, we saw this the other night, right? We were trying to figure out Boston Scott, Kenny G, Miles Sanders. First off, this Philly backfield, we said it as well. They will break your heart. It's going to break your heart. You're going to play it one way, and it's going to end up the other way. But Kenny G is really, really interesting on DraftKings because he isn't cheap. He is not priced down like Boston Scott is, which means his ownership is going to stay low, and he is going to get some touches. So we saw him smash one in. I think it was last week or the week before? He's the number 2. He's got some talent. He can catch passes, and he's my preferred of the two between him and Boston Scott. So there's definitely some interest there.
I definitely prefer him as well because Kenny G will be in the game for passing game work. They'll have him in the game just even in a blowout. So last week, it doesn't show here. This was a blowout game at Houston, right?
No, it was relatively
close for a minute. Yeah, it was close for a minute. That was another weird one where you're like, Houston. By the way, that's another example that Houston scored on the Eagles. That they're not better offensively than Washington, and it was a close game. But for the most part, like the Eagles had that game comfortable. I think I bet it and was nervous. No, we did not bet it. And the Eagles did not cover the spread on that one. Now I remember.
Correct.
They just missed covering the spread. Kenny G, the saxophone player. So, he got 12.8 fantasy points, 4,600. That's probably just about enough for this 4.6K level. I will note that has he had a game where he would have paid off this salary? Like I said, he's got a 12 and 11 on the season, and that's about maybe that gives you like a 30% chance of being in the nuts at this price. Even the 12, it's not a lock to get you there.
No, strictly deep GPP.
Yeah.
If Miles Sanders gets hurt or if Kenny G gets hot. I mean, we've seen the Phillies move away. The Phillies. I miss the Cubs. We've seen the Eagles move away from Miles Sanders when he struggled before too. So MME, I would have shares, but there's a lot safer guys in that price range too. If you're not willing to take as many risks.
Yeah, no, I don't love it. I like it, but like I said, I like Quez a little bit more, and I definitely like Logan Thomas at 20. Logan Thomas get you 0. He's had zeros the last 2 weeks. Like
we can't forget about the kickers, right?
Well, kickers we always have. So I prefer kickers to all of this. Always love kickers. I'm a big kickers believer for these showdowns. Last night, I played Dicker, the kicker. Fucking guy put up, what, 12? He was in the nuts. Both
Robbie put up a bunch
night.
too, yeah.
Love those kickers, man. Because the way they salary these guys, the kicker is just very valuable. The kicker, again, it's that 10 under the, you're playing blackjack, you're assuming the 10, right? The kicker's like a 9-point guy. He's going to get you 9. Sometimes he'll get you 12, but sometimes he'll get you 7. But, sometimes he gets you 16 also. And so that kicker, but he's sort of a floor of like, he's getting you, the average is like 9. And the thing is, none of these other players in this zone, I'll just show it to you. You know what? The average points per game, which no one looks at nearly as much as they should, but it's actually an important number. Like generally, you just look like their average points per game is higher. Like, all right, Jake Elliott's is anyway. I don't know, 6.1, but it's a lot higher than Quez and these other guys, right? So on average, these kickers are going to do pretty well. What the hell, man? Jake Elliott has not been putting up good numbers at all. Now that I come and look at it.
The Eagles like to go for it on 4th down. I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at it, and he was not putting up good numbers. All right, let's build a lineup. Malcolm wants help with cash, so let's build a cashy lineup. I'm not going to give out a cash full lineup, though, guys, but we'll put you on the path. So, Bobbywow, to start in cash, do we go straight up with Jalen Hurts and then kind of play a low, have to put a bunch of turds in here? Or is there any other captain that you feel like, hey, you know what? I feel pretty safe that this guy will get us some points and the savings we can get.
Can we try 2? Can we try one with Hurts and then I've got another guy for the other one?
Let's try a Hurts one. All right, that's fair. We'll try a Hurts one here. Again, 63.40. So my first guy that I'm going to plug in with Hurts is Logan Thomas, because I know when you play an expensive captain, you need one of these cheapies. Now, the other way to go would just be to say YOLO it with 2 kickers.
I mean, Dotson, I think, is in play there as well.
Dotson, we might need to use him also in this one, but I'm going to go with Logan. I want to go with my boy Logan Thomas, right?
Okay.
We got the information from definitely not the FBI that the team is excited about Logan.
Love it.
David likes Goddard captain in cash, which
he was my other one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of like that too, but let's do this version. We'll do a Goddard version next. Forget these little ones and DVPs. They're you got to ignore that on showdowns.
Let the field worry about those.
Exactly. So let's put a kicker in here. Let's go with the underdog kicker because he's cheaper. Jay Slizzles. This is way too many Washington pieces already, and I kind of think you want to get Gibson in here, which leaves us A.J. Brown.
I mean, that's a pretty darn good lineup right there.
I think this is pretty fucking good for cash.
I like it.
All right, let's try a Goddard version right after. Look at the eye roll.
The alternative lineup there, I think, is you go McLaurin instead of Gibson, and then you downgrade Brown to Goddard. I think that might be the pivot of that lineup. But then we want Goddard here. Let's start a lineup with Goddard.
Wait, I lost the lineup we just made.
No.
Because of a weird location check. Hold on. I got to remake it. I cannot make a lineup on the show and then not put it in. I've got to be able to check it. So I'm going to remake it. Luckily, my Memorex. I don't remember that line. All right, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
All right, it's in. Okay. Now, let's do a Goddard version.
Go Goddard.
So this one has Goddard at the helm. And note the difference. Average remaining 76.60. We needed to put like complete turds in there to get back up to that amount. So let's now we got Goddard at the start, Jalen Hurts in the flex.
Yep.
We're trying to build kind of a cashy lineup here. So kickers.
Go
No
Sly
Logan
again.
Thomas. Sly?
Sly, Dotson.
$86.50 remains. Got to get. I like AJ Brown. I try to get him in there, and you can't get. And Curtis Samuel, Eagles defense.
I don't like it.
What about you're not liking this one?
Not for cash. I don't know.
No, Dotson is troubling for. I don't think you use Dotson in cash. Taylor Heineke, Devontae Smith.
So go McLaurin. Go McLaurin there. I just want to see what happens.
That is not going to be a cash lineup either, but it leaves you in the Logan Thomas zone.
Okay. So go back then. Take McLaurin out.
Gibson. I think the version that's working for me is you go back to Gibson because you basically have to play Gibson in cash, in my opinion, and then you put the other kicker in there.
Yep. Or Quez, but not cash.
I'd rather play a kicker than Quez.
Yep.
No, Smith is definitely a tournament only. I like this line. I like
that. That's more cashy to me than the first one even.
I agree, except for unless Goddard completely shits the bed, which could happen. That could happen. Put it in a cash game just to see. All right. Now I could be like, hey, that lineup we gave out cashed. All right. Let's talk FanDuel. And guys, remember again, if you like what we're up to, just hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Get all this kind of content. And, for DFS Army members, you guys miss a lot of the videos if you're not hitting the notification bell. We put the stuff out. I've got a video coming later today where we'll have Scott Newman on with it. I don't know tonight when I'm going to put it out there, but where we'll have Scott on there and we'll go through the back test on the optimizer and literally show the process of taking down 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 12th place in a tournament. Who the hell does that? No one does that. That's what he did, and we're gonna see how it was done. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel for that good stuff. All right, let's take a look at the cheat sheet for FanDuel. And is it Bobbywow? Is it just Hurts? We're going exclusive, one guy, because
I think so. Unless you're MMEing,
I'm all in on Hurts here. We'll have 100% in the MVP on FanDuel.
That's what I'm doing as well. But talking leverage, this is a spot to get leverage if you want it. I am all in on Hurts as well. Josh and I both. But
let's think about who are the possible leverages. Couple shares of AJ Brown.
To me, the true leverage is Heineke and Gibson. Because Miles Sanders at 10%, you almost have to get too much of him. It's certainly possible, but can't you see Heineke in a crazy, like he's trying to come back or keep up with the Eagles, or Gibson ends up catching a few or running a few in? I mean, it's not pretty, but I feel like Gibson should be on there too.
It's a big ask for him to be the highest scoring player in the game.
It is.
In a game against the Eagles where the Eagles are so good. David says Eagles defense, put him in there, get a 21.
Woo!
Ballsy.
They're going to be the highest scorer. I must be talking about DraftKings.
Could happen.
Could happen.
This is FanDuel, so you cannot make a case for most of these players at MVP because FanDuel has a uniquer, like the scoring system on FanDuel so massively favors running backs and quarterbacks that it's so hard for a pass catcher to get there. It's rare. It does happen. Like I said, that one crazy game for AJ Brown where he put 38, you can get there with 3 touchdowns.
DK, yes. DraftKings, yes. Not as much here.
If Miles Sanders just randomly scores 3 touchdowns in this game, he will get there. That it'll be his thing. So I think if you're going to play Jalen Hurts, number one, expect to be in a tie. I don't know how you make a unique lineup with Jalen Hurts. Like,
it's pretty much impossible.
Almost every single combination is going to be carried with Jalen Hurts at MVP. Even weird ones, like some people talk about Greg Ward or John Bates or like crazy ass guys like that. You'll need those. So let's take a look at, you'll need those with Hurts. But making 150, it will cycle through a lot of that shit. So, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll need to not spend salary. That's what you'll need to do.
You'll need to leave some salary.
You need to do salary on the table.
One of these guys who are marked with a turd might need to be in there. If De'Ami Brown gets a touchdown, you will need that. If Dax Milne, he 1 reception a week for the past 4 weeks, has another one. something weird is going to have to happen. Boston Scott Quez.
I was going to say Scott runs 2 touchdowns in at garbage time.
You know it's going to be Jahan Dotson, who's 2 touchdowns.
I love Jay. Yeah, I love him.
Is that your favorite on this one?
I don't know about that, but we always talk about it. Quarterbacks and running backs on FanDuel. If you can get these guys for sub 10%, you take some leverage shots. That's where you want to take your leverage on FanDuel. I think all the running backs and really everyone except for Jalen Hurts, you've got some big time leverage opportunity. That's where I would take my shots, my silly MVP shots is Sanders, Gibson, Heineke.
Sanders, Gibson, Heineke. Gibson, you know what? As a pass catching running back, we have seen J.D. McKissic in these kind of spots take one to the house, take a second one to the house, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, J.D. McKissic put up 24 fantasy points in this game. Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
But he can do it. And now Gibson in that role can do it. It's not out of the realm of shit that could happen. It's not the most likely thing that could happen, but DFS is no longer about what's likely to happen. Let's face it. We know what's likely to happen. DFS is about what could happen that the rest of people aren't accounting for. You almost want to go the opposite of what's the most likely to happen because everybody's doing that. So you need to kind of do something different.
Yep.
Heineke as a general play in your flex, certainly good. I'm just looking at the kickers here, 9,500, 9K. It's funny, they always favor the home kicker with the slightly higher, the favored kicker with the slightly higher salary. I'm not convinced that there's evidence that the favored kicker scores more. I'd love to see some stats on that.
I don't think it's been that way recently, at least. I think we've had some away kickers.
Yeah, we've had quite a few underdog kickers doing well, yeah. And even if one is skewed, you just take the cheaper one that's going to be lower owned because there's leverage there.
So, Geek, it's all about, on FanDuel, it's all about touchdowns, right? Touchdowns in the flex.
Field goals.
For field goals. I mean, for some of these other guys down here, scoring touchdowns is key. So, like, to me, Brian Robinson is very interesting at 8K. We talked about it earlier. He's certainly a candidate to smash one in from the goal line. 8K, it doesn't take much to pay off, 8,500. And then Dotson, right below him at 8K. He's scored 4 touchdowns in the 4 games he's played. So these touchdown upside guys are who I would be targeting in the flex, especially in the cheaper spots here.
You want to hear my crazy, weird thing that will be as part of this game in the nuts lineup? My prediction. Instead of a classic like who the best hurt is, I'm going to predict that the nuts lineup will have 2 players in it that we kind of consider 2 that you probably don't want to put in a lineup together, like Turtley, like 2 kind of like. You know what I'm saying? Like Quez and Logan Thomas made their way in there.
I like where you're going. I think I know where you're going.
Yeah, like some pairing that we normally wouldn't, like Jahan Dotson and Logan, 2 kind of low end cheapies, and then you're leaving salary on the table because of it.
Can I give you a kind of crazy one, but not that crazy? I think Gibson and Robinson find the end zone here.
That would be pretty wild. By the way, I think the Eagles are a good team to attack via the run. We already saw you can't really throw on them. The running backs and via the run should be the best way to attack this team. Their cornerback play is elite. And what about Curtis Samuel running for one? And, can we add Curtis Samuel in the rushing touchdowns mix? Like Gibson, like two players will get a rushing touchdown on the
absolutely.
How about that?
Yes, for sure. I love that. Yep.
Yeah. And of course, like I said, we are well aware that the most likely outcome for this game is, the Eagles smashing these dudes. They're 11-point favorites, so it's not a big secret. All right, let's slap together a FanDuel lineup here real quick. And again, it's really hard to get away from Jalen Hurts at the top. We're going to make a generic-y kind of a lineup here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, along with Hurts, do we want to go Heineke or Brown?
Can we fill in some cheaper guys first?
Yeah.
Like I think you go Dotson and either Robinson or start with either Robinson or Gibson.
I definitely want to go Gibson over Robinson. Where's Gibson? Yeah, I'd rather go Gibson.
Okay.
Right. So how about that for a start? We got 12. We got 2 spots left. 12-2. So we could either like double tap like maybe Goddard Brown, which is a lot of players from one team. We could put a kicker in there, Jay Slizzles or Jake Elliott.
What if you go Goddard? Then what do you have left?
Goddard is going to leave us right in the no man's land here. We could probably, we're going to get to Sanders or McLaurin.
I know you don't like Terry, and that'd be too many anyway.
I don't hate Terry. I don't think the wideouts are that great of a spot. And I think if you went like Sanders, it's cashy, but it maybe doesn't make the most sense.
I think you go Smith. I think you go Smith, Goddard, and then Dotson, Gibson. I kind of like it.
I don't like it that much. There's 2K left over. I definitely don't.
So
like
go
that.
Robinson instead of Gibson. He smashes one in.
That just doesn't even help. That leaves over even more.
Oh, you can't get up?
Now we have to get rid of Dotson.
You can't get up from Smith?
Oh, yeah, I could. Hang on. To 14.5, and that gets us to A.J. Brown. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. Hurts, Goddard, Brown. Robinson,
really
Dotson. Robinson scores a touchdown. What's that?
I said he feels like the forgotten man, Robinson.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I definitely prefer Gibson to Robinson. There's no doubt. I would like to find a way to have Gibson in this lineup, but you know how you get Gibson in there? You have to get rid of Dotson, and you have to go down and like finish it out with the Quez, which I don't love.
Yeah.
So
another option for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's go back to this one though. Robinson. I think this could be like a nuts play a little bit. So
I kind of like it.
Yeah, this is more. I wish I had not prepared the bomb because I think this is a better lineup for the $9 contest or the $5 or one of those larger tournaments. But nonetheless, I think that's pretty solid. So can you do Hurts naked tonight on DraftKings? Yes. Yes, of course. You don't need to force a stack. It's going to happen natural anyway. But you don't need to force a stack. It's going to happen anyway. There's not enough players. Hurts will be over 25% captain. I agree with that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Gibson and Robinson, that is just, like I said, we're not saying make all your lineups with those two. We're saying, what crazy shit could win it because some crazy thing always does seem to be in there. And so it's more of I'm not going to prevent that combination from happening. Who are my favorite 20 max captains?
Hurts. DraftKings?
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, if we throw Hurts out, let's throw Hurts out. We all love Hurts. It's too obvious.
Goddard for me.
Brown? Dotson?
Brown works. Goddard. I love Goddard.
Loves Goddard again.
Smith.
So there you go. Brown
and McLaurin. They're all cheap.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's wrap it up there, guys. Good luck tonight. Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at? Make sure again that you've subscribed to the channel if you want to see the week in review. We're going to get Scotty Newman on there. We're going to go over how he built his lineups and how he's taken down tournaments 2 weeks in a row now. So, and he uses a system that's very repeatable. Actually uses that same similar systems. He does a ton of back testing. He uses similar systems for MLB and NBA. My guy's won over 100K in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. Regular guy.
Yeah. He's
just
a beast.
Repeating a system. And everybody wonders, why am I not winning? Because you don't back test. You don't use the tools. You don't back test. And you don't learn a system. And you don't gain confidence in a system. So hopefully that's going to be helpful. Oh, we got another one for you. Silly for the Millie captain. I say silly for the Millie is Dotson.
I like it.
That's pretty solid.
I'm with you on that. I think silly for the Millie captain.
Or like Quez.
On DraftKings, Dotson. On FanDuel, Robinson would be my silly.
That's beyond crazy. What about Devontae Smith, who I don't think will be owned as a captain for a silly captain?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He smashed. I think he might have been the highest scorer in week 3 against the same team.
And it's his birthday.
Oh man.
Do they care about that? You think the team's like, oh, it's his birthday, get him the ball?
I don't know if the team cares, but I bet he certainly cares. I bet he's got a little extra, maybe some fire from the candles under him.
When it's my birthday, no one cares.
Okay, well we're getting old, man. Like the birthdays, we're on the other side of the fun hill right now.
My kids barely acknowledge when it's my birthday. They barely acknowledge it. They're like, "Oh yeah, happy birthday, Dad."
But do you want
you take me to my friend's house? And I'm like, fine.
I turned 32 recently, and I don't want people to recognize it. I hate it now. It was until 21, right? It was this exciting experience. Then it was like 21 to 30. He was like joking about feeling old. Like, oh, I don't want to celebrate my birthday. I feel old, but not really.
Could we just discuss that? If this woman is in our chats right now, I just want to let you know a free membership to DFS Army awaits you. All you have to do is ask. It's yours. All right.
Birthday narrative. You're running with the birthday narrative.
100% free for you, ma'am. So yeah, the birthday narrative. What I got distracted by the image.
Clearly.
I never understand why. I don't believe it's really her, but if it was, you're in. It's for diversification purposes, not for any other reason. All right. So anyway, birthday narrative. I don't know. I like it. I kind of like it. Devontae Smith. You know what? I'm going to say as before we take off, Devontae Smith is my favorite silly for the Millie. I don't think he's going to be high owned. And I know he has that massive upside. He is a guy that can outscore Hurts and even AJ Brown in certain situations. So Washington, division rival, they know to go. Yeah, that's true. She's right. I don't get out very much. I don't. I'm stuck in this house.
That's really funny right there.
So Devontae Smith is the one I'm going with it.
Cool.
As a matter of fact, it just got me excited to make some Devontae Smith lineups. So let's go do that. Good luck, everybody. We will see you on top of the leaderboards. Make sure you are signed up at DFS Army if you want to smash at all these things. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. We'll see you later for the weekend review, whenever the hell that comes out. We'll see. Good luck, everyone.
Let's go, baby.